At Carrabba's Italian Grill, when we talk about our family bundles, people can't help but say,
wow, I can bring home an entire meal made from scratch.
Choose from homemade entrees like spaghetti and meatballs with salad and bread, all ready to go. So
I can get Carrabba's family bundles for pickup or delivery? Wow.
Order your family bundle tonight at Carrabba's.com and feed up to 5 starting at only $7 per person.
Only $7 per person? Wow.
Plus, for a limited time during the holidays, get a free $10 bonus card when you buy $50 in gift cards.
Carrabba's. Wow.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you. Thank you for coming back and joining me on what's going to end up being our final episode of Next on the Tee for 2017. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and boy, we're going to close out the year in really grand style. I've got 3 guests tonight that I simply can't wait to share with you. First up with me tonight is going to be Brian Anderson. Brian has done so many great things in broadcasting. The list is too long to go through, even if I just dedicated the whole hour talking about all the things that Brian has done. Fans of the Milwaukee Brewers know Brian as their play-by-play announcer. Brian spent a few years with the Golf Channel, broadcasting tournaments for them. He's done play-by-play for the NCAA basketball tournament, for the NBA. He's got the NBA coming up Thursday night on TNT. We'll talk about that. He's also broadcast some NFL games. Going all the way back to his time in college, he played catcher at St. Mary's University. So the resume is very long and very distinguished for Brian. And as our friend Keith Hirschland said this week out on Twitter, Brian is the best in the business. So you know we got a lot to get into with Brian when he joins me here in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from TaylorMade Golf CEO David Abeles. I'll talk with David about, some last-minute gift ideas, right, for the golfers in our lives, maybe some great TaylorMade items you can buy for yourself, sort of a Merry Christmas to me present. Also talk to David about their golf balls, the TP5 and the TP5X, which are fantastic, by the way. Plus, we'll also look ahead to what they might be revealing to the world next month at the PGA Merchandise Show. So an additional great deal of things to get into with David when he joins me about 25 minutes from now. And then I'm going to close out tonight's show and 2017 the best way I could, and that's with a return visit from Mr. Ben Wright. Mr. Wright has come to mean a great deal to me, both on and off the show. We'll hear more of his great stories. We'll talk about the outstanding surprise 85th birthday party that they threw for him back in September. We'll also talk about the work he did redesigning his golf course, Cliffs Valley up in South Carolina. They redid that course this summer. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. He's got so many great stories. So a lot to get into with Mr. Wright as well. So a lot of great stories coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. Thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me over the next hour. And as you know, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort. Let's hear a word from our good friend Steve Rondinero about all the great things they got going on up there this winter.
When planning your next golf buddy trip, consider something completely different for 2018 at French Lick Resort. The Eagles, Birdies, and Pigeons package. That's right, pigeons. Take your best shot with a day at our Pete Dye course, a day at our Donald Ross course, then top it off with an outing at our new Sporting Clay shooting range. This package is reserved for groups of 12 or more. Just you and a pal craving a world-class golf getaway? Well, our Hall of Fame package can't be beat for a pure golf experience and value. Pete Dye, Donald Ross, and our 2 historic hotels make a legendary combination. French Lick Resort can also help you bring your game to the next level. Check out our Early Birdies Tune-Up, our Game Changer, and Rapid Recovery Golf Academies. Start making those 2018 plans now with an online visit to FrenchLick.com. French Lick Resort, home of the 2018 Senior LPGA Championship and the Symetra Tour Donald Ross Classic.
Yeah, folks, be sure to check them out online, FrenchLick.com, to see for yourself. It's a wonderful place, so you'll be very glad you check it out online, and you go check out their golf courses as well. Beautiful up there. Again, FrenchLick.com to book your stay. And folks, have you heard me talking about Club Hub sensors over the last few months? Well, if you haven't, listen up and get ready to discover the best portable shot tracking and swing analysis golf device out there. Other shot trackers tell you what happened. Club Hub tells you what happened and why. Take the progress that you're making on the practice tee directly to your rounds with the only device of its kind that can go on the course with you. I have club hub sensors on all of my golf clubs. They screw right into the tops of your grips, and I can tell you, since I have put the club hub sensors on my clubs, I've learned more about my swing and all of the data surrounding it than I've learned over the 40 years I've been playing the game. Not only do you get GPS distances to the hazards and to the green, but after your round, you can look back at the images and the layout of every hole on the golf course that you just played and see exactly where you hit every shot. No other GPS tool in the market captures that and lets you go back and review the round the way that the Club Hub app does. It's available for Androids and iPhones. The app keeps track of your swing speed, your tempo, the angle of attack, plus a 3D view of your swing as well. No other rangefinder can do all that for you. Go over to clubhubgolf.com and to order your set of Club Hub sensors today and enter the code NEXT. That's NEXT to get 10% off on all products at checkout. Again, clubhubgolf.com. Enter the coupon code NEXT, and you're going to get the best GPS and swing analysis tool on the market for a great low price, and you're going to see your game in a whole new way. Folks, we're also excited to be partnering with the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. They are back with the same great equipment that you know and love without the retail markup that you hate. Now you can buy premium Ben Hogan irons, wedges, utility irons, hybrids, and bags directly from the factory at prices your wallet's going to appreciate. Visit them online at benhogangolf.com or give them a call at 844-53-HOGAN. That's 844-534-6426 to learn more and to order your set today. Please also check out our friends at the Bobby Jones Apparel Company by going online to bobbyjones.com. Their new holiday collection is out. The shift in seasons is an opportunity to change things up, layer upon layer. Give your wardrobe a boost of dapper style. They've added some great details, fresh colors, new additions with genuine, enduring character. See the new holiday collection by going online to bobbyjones.com. And folks, as you know, we've been partnering with Russ Holden and the folks over at Caddy for a Cure. One of the most unique opportunities in the world of professional golf is available to you through Caddy for a Cure. Spend a day inside the ropes with one of the world's best players as their caddy. It's a fantastic way to have the time of your life while supporting our wounded service members and Fancona anemia. You're going to get to walk side by side with your tour player, experiencing professional golf as an insider. And in addition to the amazing experience you're going to have, you're going to get a fantastic gift package from Caddy for a Cure, which includes Under Armour logoed apparel and an eyewear package, a tour-grade caddy bib suitable for autographs and framing, a tin cup ball marking gift, chef's cut real jerky, and professional photographs from your day. Go online to caddyforacure.com to learn more. That's caddyforacure.com, caddyforacure.com to learn more. All right, folks, now joining me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Brian Anderson. Let me give you some more background on Brian. He is from a small town outside of Austin, Texas. In college, played catcher for St. Mary's University, where he graduated cum laude with a degree in English communications. Brian has done play-by-play calls for just about every major sport. He's called Little League, Minor League, and, of course, now Major League Baseball for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's worked for TBS covering postseason baseball for both the National League and the American League. He did golf play-by-play announcing for the Golf Channel from the early to mid-2000s. In 2013, he did the Grand Slam of Golf for TNT. He's covered the NCAA basketball tournament. In 2014, he called some of the NFL games for CBS. And the list just goes on and on, folks, and I am so thrilled that he is with me tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining me tonight.
Oh, Chris, great setup, man. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight.
So, Brian, as a guy, on the outside, sort of looking in at your career, boy, I would say this is a guy getting to live the dream. Was behind the mic in broadcasting your dream, or did you dream about being behind the plate playing catcher?
Well, definitely dreamed about playing professionally. That was my number one goal growing up. My brother, who's 5 years older, did play professionally, made it to the major leagues. He was always my idol and a guy I looked up to, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And I realized probably about 2 years too late that I wasn't going to be good enough to play at the next level. I was a decent college catcher, small college catcher. We had a really good team. We were number one in the nation. We went to the College World Series, the NAIA World Series. And so I was very happy about my career, but I wasn't next level good to to go professionally. So then I started scrambling a little bit, and I had always had a knack and always had a want to be a broadcaster. I even at a young age, I would listen to the broadcasters, and my dad loved, and my granddad even, they loved listening to games on the radio. And growing up in Texas like I did, there were always games on and games on the radio. I loved to take drives, and there was something, romantic about listening to baseball on the radio for me. And, took my wife on our first date to a ball game and made her listen to the radio broadcast on the way back. And so I always had an idea that I wanted to do that. And I used to do it in the dugouts all the time. So I would call play-by-play. I would make up silly stories and backstories about players and get the guys in the dugout laughing. And I'd actually do it at home plate when I was catching. If I knew the hitter, we cross paths with a lot of the players. So if I kind of knew the guy and we may have messed around a little bit, I'd go into a little play-by-play, and I got really good feedback during those times. And people were thinking, "Wow, you're really good at that. You actually sound like you can do this." And so when I realized I wasn't good enough to play, I quickly turned my dial to Plan B, which was broadcasting. I actually had an offer to go be a baseball scout, but I had an offer to go work for the San Antonio Missions right there in San Antonio, where I attended college. And it was a great opportunity. They moved into a new stadium right after I graduated, and they needed a second hand and gave me the job. And I've been in it ever since. I was really bad in my first few years and had to change how I spoke. I used to speak in a really high voice with a Texas drawl, kind of had my jaw locked up like this. And so I had to really clean up some of that. And then that's where it started. So that was a dream come true for me. And I really only wanted to be a radio play-by-play announcer. I had no aspirations. As Bubba Watson would say after the Masters win, his dreams didn't go that far. And I'd never imagined doing television, never imagined doing all these other sports, doing golf, which is another sport I love dearly. And so this has all been a bonus all these years.
So to all of those points, Brian, was San Antonio, was that the first job? Is that the first person to let you get behind the mic?
Well, yeah, that's the first broadcasting job. So my career is a little bit odd, unusual, probably singular only to me, which I love about it, but at the time wasn't the greatest setup. But I started, even in college, I started as a camera operator. So when I went to college in San Antonio, I had gotten an internship to work at the local cable company, which had a studio, and that studio produced things like the Mayor's Forum and City Manager's Report, and we did all these talent shows, Tejano music festivals, things like that. And so I got to be really proficient at all facets of television. So when you're doing public access shows and, you're doing a cooking show with some old lady who's coming in with her specialty recipes, you learn how to do graphics and audio and set up the microphones and direct and run camera and all that. So I got pretty good at it. And I started because I was young, still in school, strong, I was still an athlete, I was still playing, I started working for the San Antonio Spurs on their television broadcast. And then one thing led to another, and, by word of mouth, I started to advance pretty quickly running handheld camera. So I was doing major college football events and boxing matches, and I did the NCAA tournament as a cameraman when it was in San Antonio at the Final Four in '97, and so I ended up just in a weird way kind of going through this phase of technical work, which actually helped pay the bills, and I made good money doing that. I got the regular union rates, and then this broadcasting job came open, so I kind of attached the minor league broadcasting job for 6 months to the tech work in the other 6 months. And I did that for 5 years. I mean, I did that on and off. So, half the people I knew me as a camera operator, handheld camera guy. The other half the people knew me as a future, broadcaster, potential major league broadcaster. And then because I needed more income, I was married and wasn't making much money, I added a third layer which all made it all come together with the Golf Channel. But I worked at a golf course, so I worked at Hyatt Hill Country in San Antonio, which is a Golf Hyatt property, and I ran corporate tournaments and folded shirts and made tee times and just did everything that they asked me to do in an hourly wage employee. And that little $7 an hour job ended up helping me get to the Golf Channel a few years later. So I did all those things and not thinking, I was going to make it, quote unquote, make it in any one area. Always felt like baseball was the area I was going to probably end up thriving, but it took a long time. I was in the minor leagues for 9 years.
So, Brian, as you teased a moment ago, you took a $7 an hour job, and somehow you made that, you made your way from there to the Golf Channel. How did you bridge that? So really, that was that came about. If you're a golf fan and you remember how that tour, the nationwide tour, is what I ended up covering. It's the web.com now. At the time, it was the buy.com tour, had been the Nike tour, and so they had gone through a few title sponsors. Well, they were morphing into this new venture. This Nationwide Insurance was, spending a lot of money on this tour, and they wanted a little bit more of a mainstream type sound. I had not done golf. I was doing the NBA. I was doing as a sideline reporter with the San Antonio Spurs. I was still doing minor league baseball on the radio. And so by this time, this is 2002, so by this time I had left all my technical jobs, handheld camera jobs, audio jobs. I was able to move away from those in 99. So I'd been 3 years as an announcer, and I'd shown up on ESPN a few times. So they kind of knew me a little bit at the Golf Channel, an executive by the name of Tony Tortorisi. And you mentioned Keith Hirschland, who is the great producer at the Golf Channel. He was the guy who picked me up at the airport, and I'll never forget. I basically got the interview because I had done all this broadcasting in all these mainstream sports, like football and basketball, and I'd worked in the NBA and baseball, and so now I had that experience, plus I worked in the golf business. So that kind of put me a little bit over the top with Golf Channel, that they found somebody who's done all these other sports but wasn't a golf-exclusive broadcaster. I brought probably a little more energy and pace than what you would hear from a traditional golf announcer. So that was really the breakthrough. Keith picked me up at the airport. He said, "This is a really unfair thing that's going to happen. We're going to put you in a studio with Laura Baugh, and we're just going to turn it on and going to let you go sink or swim, and I'm going to be in your ear, and I'm going to tell you what shot's coming up next." And it had been a tournament that I had never seen. It was actually an LPGA event with Annika Sorenstam. There was a major rules issue, I remember, in the middle of this demo reel, right, that they're showing me, and I'm trying to figure this out on the fly. There was an obstruction piece, and there was a piece of the scoreboard was in her line of fire. And anyway, so I'm trying to navigate my way through this whole scene. I'd never called golf on television. I know the sport, had been around it and played it. But I thought I failed miserably. I was just like, well, that's that. I'm going to be done with this. So, but to the contrary, it went really well on their end. And, all the things I didn't know that I felt shaky about context-wise that I would have learned, because I'm a prep announcer. I enjoy the prep. I feel like that's a strength, and I didn't have any prep because I didn't know what it was they were showing. So they felt like they could teach me all of that, and Keith was a great leader in that regard, and he and Jerry Foltz and Kurt Byram and Kay Cockrell and Michael Breed, that was our team. And we started the Nationwide Tour, which, if you remember, we brought a little more up-tempo, and Keith's fantastic producing. We moved really fast. We hardly walked anybody up any fairway or around the green. We showed more shots per hour than anybody on television, and we had rock music. We had a little up-tempo music going, some original stuff, and we were just doing kind of whatever we wanted, and we were having fun, and we had a great class. We had great players like Zach Johnson and Ryan Palmer and Lucas Glover and, all these guys who have gone on to win tournaments on the big show and, win majors. So we ended up
in a really sweet spot, sweet time for me to kind of own it, and it was something that I owned really for the first time, and that I did that for 4 years, and then the Brewers job came open, and I wanted to get back to what my original goal was to do Major League Baseball.
So, Brian, everybody has sort of a welcome to the bigs sort of moment, whether it was, in golf or the NBA or baseball. Do you remember, was there a time when you thought to yourself, boy, that was tough?
Oh, sure. I mean, I have a lot of those stories. 9 years in the minor leagues, it sounds sort of fun when you watch Bull Durham and say that would be a cool way to live, but when you live it for 9 years and you're on the buses and you're playing a game on a Thursday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you take a 9-hour bus ride and play on a Friday night in San Antonio, and you've got to engineer the whole thing. You got to set up the mics, the equipment, and you're by yourself, and you're running ragged, and I mean, you're away from your family. I did all 142 games of the minor league schedule, so those were some low moments, especially when you're not sleeping and you can't sleep on the bus, and there's you're packed with 26 players and 3 coaches and a trainer and a strength guy, and so it's not like you got a first-class travel and you're flying a charter plane. You're jammed into a bus, and just about half the time the bus you left on wouldn't be the bus you showed up with. They would typically break down, and it's the classic minor league setting, and as much as I loved it and I loved being on the air, there was some definite moments where, and I even tried to quit at one point. I was so fed up and frustrated that I wasn't getting a chance, and that's where the Golf Channel really was a life preserver for me. I mean, to be able to break free and now end up on television, do all these events on TV. We were doing 4 days a week, 25 weeks a year. I was doing Q School, doing some of the smaller PGA Tour events, the events that would go up against majors. So we did Jackson, we did Reno. Those were really cool events for me to be a part of, and those were big moments that when you finally taste a little bit of that success, and you realize it's all worth it. I will tell you a story real quick, because you mentioned Ben Wright is coming up later. So I can remember the first year I was with the Golf Channel. We were at the Cliffs course doing the tournament there. The BMW Charity Pro-Am is what it was called. It's kind of the Nationwide Tours version, Web.com tour version of AT&T. So the celebrities were there, and Kevin Costner was there, and there were a lot of athletes and actors and whatnot. And so, but Ben Wright, of course, designed the course and was our special host. And here I am, having never done golf, having watched the Masters all those years and watched CBS, and now Ben Wright's coming to the booth, and he's going to call about an hour of golf with us, with me and Kurt Byram. And you talk about like feeling so inferior and ill-equipped, and so Ben Wright is now calling golf, and I'm sitting there. Just a couple of months ago, I'm doing minor league baseball, and I'm sitting next to the great Ben Wright, who's calling golf in such a beautiful way, and I'm going, I got to get out of this business. I can't do this. It's kind of the same feeling I had when I sat next to Vin Scully. There's like certain people that you don't belong with on the air, and that was one of those early moments. Like, I've got to go find another line of work, because this guy makes it look too easy, and he's so poetic and it's beautiful. So, that was a memory, an early memory of doing golf, where I felt like, wow, I have no chance to succeed in this realm.
And Brian, you talk about majors, and I know that you're doing some work now. You were part of the team doing the PGA Championship. Talk about the experience watching that golf tournament and what you saw from Justin Thomas this year.
Yeah, Justin Thomas was great, and I worked with Billy Kratzer. We did the PGA.com coverage in the mornings, and then we were doing the TNT. So Billy and I fit in between Vern Lundquist and Gary McCord and Dottie, and then Jim Nantz and Peter Costas on TNT. So we had the middle 2 hours on TNT. And I've done that the last 2 years, and Billy Kratzer had a great call this year, because we can kind of do what we want on the .com coverage in the morning. We were with the Marquee Group and which ends up on DirecTV and .com, PGA.com. But he decided he wanted to follow Justin Thomas. He felt like he was trending and said, usually we would follow the last group, but Billy encouraged us to jump on Justin Thomas, and what a thrill to go around with him and watch every shot of his winning round, of the PGA Championship. And I did it at Baltusrol 2 years ago, and that was a major career thrill for me because Jimmy Walker won at Baltusrol. Jimmy Walker and I were together on the Nationwide Tour back in the day when I was broadcasting, and he was playing, and he was a money list winner on the Nationwide Tour back then, and I was there when he met his wife, and we just have all this history, and to be able to watch him and call his golf as he wins his first major, I was just like, man, it was such a great experience for me to be a part of. And there's nothing like a major, and I'm really excited that I'm back in golf in that way. Would love to do more golf at some point, and with working with Turner Sports, that is always a possibility. They are certainly eager to do more golf if available. But yeah, it's been a thrill, to watch these guys at the top of their game, and I just enjoy watching them hit balls, on the practice tee. I find that batting practice in baseball and spending time on the practice tee is therapeutic for me. It's just watching the rhythm of these guys who are performing at such a high level and able to do what they do. It's mesmerizing, and to have the access that I have and be able to go get really close to these guys and watch. So I do enjoy the broadcasting for sure, and you're so locked in the moment. You're not really enjoying it. Is that understandable? I mean, it's not like you're going, this is so much fun. You're kind of like in it, and you're basically, at least me, I'm saying, just don't screw this up. It's not like something you can sit back and enjoy. So yes, the games and broadcasting the games, the rounds of golf and the majors are fun, or whatever game I'm doing. But it's really cool, the ancillary pieces around it, to realize how lucky I am to do what I do and to be able to step onto the grounds at Wrigley or Miller Park or Fenway Park or Baltusrol or, like last year in Charlotte at Quail, just to be a part of that. We walked around the practice round. Ernie Johnson and I did with Bubba Watson, who was another guy that I followed and was with on the Nationwide Tour, and we are walking the practice round with Bubba and Justin Bieber. And, we're literally walking down the fairways with Justin Bieber. And, my daughter's 18 years old, and she's losing her mind. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just hanging out with Justin today. And so those are the kind of experiences that make you step back and go, wow, this is a really cool way to live your life. And I'm very blessed and very grateful.
Brian, just a couple more before we let you go. And to the point you made a moment ago, now you've been with the Brewers for a number of years. I'm imagining you're establishing relationships with the players and deeply invested within the organization. When you're broadcasting, are you emotionally invested so that, it might be fun if you look back on it, but boy, I'm imagining it's exhausting between watching the game and doing your play-by-play and emotionally invested in the team and the outcomes of games, and when it's all over, when the game's over, that's got to be exhausting.
It is, yeah. I mean, if you've done it right, I think it is. I think it's like anything that you would do where that requires an incredible amount of concentration, and there's a skill in that. There's a talent in that. For me, there's an art in that I really enjoy and appreciate. And so, yeah, you're invested in the game. I would say the outcome of the game matters more when you're working for a team. Like when I'm working for the Brewers, I want the Brewers to win. I still have to do a job, and I still have to represent both sides. And if I'm on a Brewers broadcast and I work for the team and I'm paid by the team, everything is through the lens of the Brewers. So, you're broadcasting that way consciously. And when you do a national game, you have to, it's easier in a national game because you really don't care what the outcome is. You just want a good game. And, you're so focused on making sure you don't even think about the game in its entirety. You're really only working from segment to segment or timeout to timeout, whatever the sport calls for. But you're really only moving in those smaller circles, right, that what can you do in this circle to get to the break, and then you begin it again, and then now you start to add these layers together. So I try not to make it so big that I sit there and say, what am I going to say for the next 4 hours? It never comes to me that way. I just say, what am I going to say in the next 3.5 minutes before we take a break or we go to a commercial or whatever it may be, the time frame. So it's really important to keep that lined up in your brain and do the best you can with what you see and try to build those stories as they go, and trust your ad-lib ability, trust your vocabulary, trust all the instincts that, that I have and I feel like I've fostered all these years, and you got to trust it at some point. You can come prepared, and you have to come prepared, and you have to know where you're headed, but you really don't want to be pinned down to your prep or your notes, and you want to be able to free flow a little bit and be able to maneuver and move from one play or one meaningful moment to another and be able to recognize that. So that's kind of, you're exhausted at the end of the game or the end of the round because you're so completely focused on what is next, right? And that goes for everybody you work with, your partner, the analyst, the truck, producer, director, graphics, if you're doing television, all that comes into play. And it's all one big symphony, and you're kind of the last line of defense because your words are what are being spoken, and you don't want to ruin it for everybody else.
Brian, one more before we let you go. You've got the NBA on TNT coming up this week, Spurs Jazz. Talk about your work for TNT.
I'm always looking forward to watching the San Antonio Spurs play. I spent so much time in that organization, 12 years when it was all said and done, 8 of them on the air. And so just to be with that group and Greg Popovich and all the television folks are close friends of mine to this day, and I just marvel at what they've done. I was there for their first championship. That was my first year on the air, 99. That was my first season as a sideline reporter, and they've won 5. It's hard to believe that little San Antonio, which was forever the redheaded stepchild, just has now been one of the great franchises and a model franchise. Pop's going to the Hall of Fame. Tim Duncan's going to the Hall of Fame, of course, and they got 2 players in Parker and Ginobili that I was actually there in their first day in training camp, and they're still at it. Ginobili at 40 years of age, so they're always a pleasure. And to see Utah kind of come on, and they're very much in the Spurs mold, and Quinn Snyder's their coach, and he coached in the Spurs organization. He's got the Larry Brown coaching tree, which is connected to Greg Popovich, and he coached the G League team for the Spurs, and very similar offense, trying to build their culture the same way, and they've got a great young player in Donovan Mitchell who's got a chance to win the Rookie of the Year. So always great to be in Salt Lake City. Going to get some snow tomorrow, so it's going to be a lot of fun to be here, and Greg Anthony and Allie LaForce and myself will have the call for you. Got to stay up late night, though. That's a 8:40 local start here in the Mountain Time Zone to get that one started.
Brian, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing and follow you, whether it's online or over social media?
Well, I have an agent. I guess you could call him. No, I mean, I don't. I'm not into the self-promotion. I'm all about, I believe in the referee approach to broadcasting. Hopefully you don't hardly know that there's been a broadcaster there and hasn't ruined your experience. But, I'm on Twitter, and I do try to keep fans, mostly my family, updated on where I'm going to be and what games I'm doing. But between college basketball for Fox and BTN and doing the NBA on TNT and ultimately down into to March Madness, I'll be on March Madness television, TNT or CBS or TBS. TBS has the home of this year again to the Final Four. So I'm always around. I'm easy to find. They promote it heavily on, especially Turner Sports, so you can always find my name somewhere. So I'm just glad to be on that list.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me tonight. It's been fantastic getting to spend some time with you. I hope you'll come back and do it again sometime. I really enjoyed it.
Anytime, my friend. You're always welcome to call, and if I can fit it in, I'm always willing to do it. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much, Brian. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family. Look forward to catching up with you again real soon.
All right, same to you.
Take care, Brian. That's the great Brian Anderson. Again, you can catch him this Thursday night, NBA on TNT. You go back and you look at, the work he did for PGA.com on the PGA Championship this year. You'll find him doing that, I'm sure, and for many years to come. And, like I say, Keith Hirschland told me, there's no one better in the business. And getting just to spend a few minutes with Brian, I can see exactly why he said that. So thanks to Brian, and hopefully we get the opportunity to get back on the show again real soon. All right, before I get to my next guest, David Abeles, I want to give a shout-out to a few of our sponsors. First, I want to remind you about our friends over at SyncIt.com. You know how we like to keep things on the positive side here on Next on the Tee and have a positive approach both in life and out on the golf course? Well, we're excited to be partnering with the folks at SyncIt.com. Keep putting that positive thought of sinking the putt in your mind with their great line of T-shirts and hats. To win any golf tournament, right, you got to sink the final putt. We wake up every day to finish strong, sink the putt, close the deal, work hard, get better each and every day. Have the confidence to push forward towards your dreams with unwavering passion, and you're going to sink it in life. Check them out online at syncit.com. And folks, have you heard me talking about ClubHub sensors over the last few months? If you haven't, listen up and get ready to discover the best portable shot tracking and swing analysis golf device out there. Other shot trackers tell you what happened. ClubHub tells you what happened and why. Take the progress that you make on the practice tee directly to your rounds with the only device of its kind that can go on the course with you. I have ClubHub sensors on all of my clubs. They screw right into the tops of your grips, and I can tell you, since I put ClubHub sensors on my clubs, I have learned more about my swing and all of the data surrounding it than I have learned over the 40 years I've been playing the game. Not only do you get GPS distances to the hazards and to the green, but after your round, you can look back at images of the layout of every hole on the course that you just played and see exactly where you hit every shot. No other GPS tool in the market captures that and lets you go back and review your round the way the ClubHub app does. It's available for Android or iPhones, and the app keeps track of your swing speed of every club you got, right? Your tempo, your angle of attack, and so much more. Plus, you get a 3D view of your swing as well. And no other rangefinder can do all of that for you. Go online to clubhubgolf.com to order your ClubHub sensors today and enter the coupon code NEXT. That's NEXT to get 10% off of all products at checkout. Again, clubhubgolf.com. Enter the coupon code NEXT, and you're going to get the best GPS swing analysis tool on the market for a great low price, and you're going to see your game in a whole new way. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at pgasuperstore.com. Now, back to you, Chris.
And now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is the president and CEO of TaylorMade Golf, David Abeles. Let me remind you about David's background. He earned his degree in marketing and finance from the University of Connecticut. He joined TaylorMade as their general manager for the Asia Pacific division and later moved on to be the director of sales for North America. Left TaylorMade for a while to go over to Titleist and the Acushnet Company to become their vice president of sales and marketing. Came back to TaylorMade as their executive vice president and general manager. He took over as their chief executive officer and president back in February of 2015, and I'm thrilled he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, David. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, Chris. Great to be back. Good to hear your voice again.
I appreciate you. So, David, we're less than a week away now from Christmas, and if we're still looking for a great gift for the golf enthusiast in our life, or we're looking to do a little Merry Christmas to me sort of gift, how can you help us out? What do you got for us?
Well, my response to that, Chris, as always, will be a bit biased because if you're looking for something in golf, look no further than something with the TaylorMade brand on it. But there's such great stuff out in the marketplace right now for golfers everywhere. And I think about, some of the things that we're seeing in high demand right now during the holidays. Personalized TP5 and TP5X golf balls, quite candidly, are one of the hottest items that we're seeing in our industry right now for golfers. And then terrific products like Spider Tour SI putters that have an incredible legacy of performance and have certainly lit the world of golf up through some of the greatest tour players in the world playing them. But I love all the TaylorMade products right now. And if you're looking for a gift for an avid golfer, they'll love every single one of them. See, it's a perfect win situation for both parties.
And David, you mentioned the TP5 and the TP5X, and we've tested a lot of golf balls this year here at Next on the Tee. And the TP5 and quite honestly, the Project A golf balls are two of our favorites. Talk about the advances that you've made with those golf balls, and maybe is there something new that we might look forward to in 2018?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, the golf ball business and specifically the products in the golf ball category are ones that over time different manufacturers have had a challenge really driving performance differentiation from ball to ball. And a lot of amateur golfers and tour players alike, up until really the launch of our TP5 products, really we're seeing just kind of nominal gains, but not incredibly strong improvements in overall performance. We've been working on TP5 and TP5X, and I think I shared this with you last year, for the better part of a decade, which is how do we really break the paradigm between optimizing distance off the tee for all players at every swing level and swing speed, and not compromising short game spin and feel around the greens. And so if you think about that in the context of, a lot of golfers will play or would like to play a hard Sirlin golf ball off the tee. It doesn't spin a whole lot. It compresses. It goes pretty far, but you really don't want to chip and putt with it because you can't stop it and you really can't control it. However, you'd love to play a real softball around the greens, but you might be compromising distance off the tee. So that was really the problem statement for TaylorMade, which is, given kind of the innovation fabric of our company and a company that really breaks through with technology to improve performance for golfers, we said, how are we going to solve that? And after 10 years of work and working on multi-layer construction, and particularly 5-piece construction, so we were the first company in the world to launch a 5-piece construction golf ball. We changed not only the cover formulation to be able to deliver those performance attributes, but we changed the symmetry inside the golf ball to enable the golf ball to activate its core at different swing speeds. So the net effect is that now every golfer at every skill level can benefit from long distance off the tee and from short game spin and feel around the greens. And what you will see, just take it to your local pro shop or take it to a launch monitor, try the product, you'll see the ball actually launching higher, which is very different. And that's driven by a new dimple design and a new cover formulation and the activation of the core, and a ball actually spinning less off of your driver and long iron. So that's what you want, right? High launch and low spin. That's how things go further. That's how products go further. But around the greens, because we activate not only the cover, but the first layer or second layer mantle, we're getting a lot of spin on the product. So we were really, for the first time, and we've had good products, and there have been a lot of good products in golf for many years, have been able really to decouple that, and that's why players like Jason Day and Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy this year, as well as Justin Rose, who's arguably the hottest player on the planet right now, and John Rahm, this young superstar, have all come into TaylorMade and have all come into the company. They knew we made great metalwoods and great irons. They came in many regards, or have stayed with us in many regards, because they love the performance of this new golf ball. So those are the 5-piece construction stories that are really new and innovative to golf that have enabled our golf ball business to double over the course of the last 11 months, which is really spectacular because we have a nice golf ball business to start with. So we've got an extremely hot golf ball right now, not only on tour, but with golfers around the world. And then, Chris, you mentioned the Project A. That's a 3-piece urethane construction. It provides some of the performance qualities that I just described in TP5 and TP5X. It doesn't get you all the way there, but it's really built around moderate to slower swing speed players that want the feel of a soft golf ball and can buy it at a kind of what we call a mid-premium value proposition because the construction is 3-piece versus 5-piece. So, for the first time in my 15 years in all at TaylorMade, we have a golf ball lineup right now that is, in my opinion, the absolute very best in performance in golf. And, golfers day by day are proving that out and they're buying it. So it's a really nice situation for us right now.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And and David, clarify for the layman like me, right? So if I'm looking for the golf ball that is best suited for my game, right? Maybe our swing speeds are south of 100 miles an hour, right? 90 to 100, something in that range. How do I know if the TP5, the TP5X, or the Project A really is the right golf ball for my game?
Well, I'll make it real simple. It's a really good question. TP5 and TP5X are our most premium, best performing golf balls for every player at every swing speed. The TP5 is for a slightly lower swing speed. The TP5X is for a slightly higher swing speed. So if you're 100 miles an hour and over, TP5X is typically the preferred ball of choice. If you're 100 miles an hour or less, or I should say less than 100 miles an hour swing speed, then TP5 is probably the right ball for you. So I want to talk to your club pro and get fit, but generally that's the best positioning. And then really the Project A is urethane at a value price. So you're not going to get the same performance qualities, but you'll get a great performing golf ball that's roughly $10 less at retail than what you would experience in TP5 or TP5X.
And David, you mentioned a moment ago Justin Rose, and I concur with you. I'm not sure that there's anybody hotter right now out there playing than Justin Rose is. Fresh off the win at the Indonesian Masters, he won the Turkish Open. He's already gotten a win in the wraparound season, right, at the WGC back in October. Placed fifth at the Hero World Challenge. So we all remember how close he came, at the Masters too. So I don't want to forget the great performance that he had there. But talk about working with Justin.
Yeah, each one of our superstars on our staff, and, I'm really humbled because we've got 5 of the top 12 players in the world that play TaylorMade right now, and then this other guy that's starting to make a bit of a comeback named Tiger Woods, who's also a TaylorMade guy. So pretty exciting time for us. Justin in particular is one of the real great talents in golf. He happens to also be one of the really great guys in golf. He's very bright. Just an incredible human being, been an incredible ambassador for our brand and our company for many, many years. But Justin has this conviction and this desire to ascend to the top player in the world. In fact, I spoke with him just a couple of weeks ago that he has a plan. He believes that he has the game, and we do as well, to challenge for that number 1 spot, which, TaylorMade ambassador Dustin Johnson has right now. But there isn't really any part of his game that hasn't come a long way since he started playing golf. But I look at him, he's an incredible ball striker. He's got one of the best golf swings in the world when you look at it technically. He drives the ball straight, he hits it far. Those are 2 pretty good things when you're driving the golf ball. His iron play is so precise, his wedge game is world class, and now he's got the putter rolling. And he's spent a lot of time on his fitness, he's spent a lot of time on how he thinks about not only winning the events that he's won 3 of the last 10 starts, and finished high in the other 7 inside the top 20. But his mindset's in a place where he's really managing his game to the golf course and has so much experience. I expect big things out of him in 2018. He's just primed for more major championships and in a run to what I think could challenge for the number 1 position in the world.
And David, you mentioned Tiger Woods a moment ago. How excited are you guys about what you saw from him at the Hero Challenge?
Well, I think the world, Chris, I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure all your listeners would attest to this, the world is excited to see Tiger Woods playing golf again. And I'm not so sure anyone really knew what to expect other than Tiger, who's just filled with confidence right now. But we were excited to see him start. We were excited to see him play well over the course of the 4 rounds at Hero. Heck, he could have gone a lot lower than he did, but he's still, there's still a little bit of rust on that. I mean, in fairness, he hasn't played competitive golf in roughly 9 or 10 months. So when you think about playing at that level and coming back and playing the way he did, it's a testament to his greatness. The guy is just, he's arguably, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. I happened to spend a day with him last Friday down in West Palm Beach, working on his game a bit, working on some new products from TaylorMade coming into 2018. And quite candidly, it was an absolute pleasure and an honor to be with him. Physically, he looks incredible. He's pain-free. He's got so much speed, it's unbelievable. And that's the first thing you look for when any golfer comes back from their recovery, especially at that level, is do they have enough ball speed to compete with these young, talented players that are whipping it out there, 300, 310, 320 yards. Tiger's ball speeds, as you saw on television, are north of 180 miles an hour. And that's on a solid golf swing. We saw him ramp it up even more than that. So Tiger's got his speed back. He's got his feel back. Physically, he looks fantastic. More importantly than looking fantastic, he feels great, pain-free. and he is prepared to go out and light the world of golf up in 2018. So we couldn't be more thrilled with his return. Certainly playing TaylorMade, which was his choice, right? When one of our competitors got out of the equipment business, he came to us and said, hey, I believe in what you do, and I played your product as an amateur. I want to be back at TaylorMade, and you'll see some of that, some of the content we created with him when we were together last Friday. But thrilled, absolutely thrilled he's back in the game of golf, and I think we're going to see great things from him as he gets going in 2018.
And David, you talk about new products for 2018. We're a little over a month from the PGA Merchandise Show. Can you give us a little peek into what you guys might be featuring or debuting there?
Well, I am absolutely sworn to secrecy by our marketing folks because I get so excited about what we're about to launch in Orlando that they really put the muzzle on me. But I'll give you just a little bit of a peek in the fact that we are going to launch a new metalwood technology that will change the way metalwoods will be built, certainly from our company, and typically when TaylorMade innovates, the rest of the industry follows, and you can see that in almost every technology that's in market today. It started here, and we're very proud of that because we invest heavily in advanced technology to help performance and golfers perform better. We have got a new technology in metalwoods that when you see it, and when we talk about it, when golfers learn about it, will change the way metalwoods will be built from the day we launch it forward. We will never build metalwoods the way we have over the past 40 years into the next 40 years. And we've really built a technology that's optimizing not only distance, but importantly, accuracy. And those two variables don't often come together. And now we're able to do it in our new metalwoods. And we'll talk about it in more detail once we get to the PGA show. We've also got a new iron technology that continues to build on our leadership position in our irons business. Right now, as you've probably seen, and maybe some of your listeners are playing this, we have the hottest player performance iron in golf. It's called the P790. It's a forged hollow back cavity construction, which really gives you a traditional shape in look in a forged iron and performs, with a lot of distance and a lot of forgiveness. The guys on tour, in fact, you saw it in Dustin's bag in the long irons. You saw it in Rosie has it in his 3 and 4 iron right now. That's a rock-solid product that's lighting the world of golf up. And then we'll have a couple new surprises that we'll share with the world come into January as well. So, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, Chris, and I always appreciate you having me on the show. It means the world to me. I have never seen a product lineup like what we have coming in 2018 that really will ignite this industry and get golfers really excited about putting TaylorMade in their bags.
Well, David, before we let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you and TaylorMade are doing, whether it's online or it's on social media?
Yeah, perfect plug, Chris. You're the best. Obviously, TaylorMadeGolf.com, you can get any news story from our company and certainly better understand our products or our athletes and what they're up to. But whether it's via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our social handles, all under TaylorMade Golf, you'll find us, and there's such great stuff going on. And it's not just about product. If you really want to engage with our athletes and learn more about the game of golf and why those athletes are not only with TaylorMade, but how they think about their games and how they think about products, I think it's a great way to do it. And we love to engage consumers and golfers at every level. And if you ping us, we'll actually respond to you right away. So I hope everybody gets a chance to see what's going on in the social efforts with TaylorMade.
Well, David, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show. I hope you'll come back soon. I'd love to get into all the great new technology and the things that you guys reveal at the PGA Merchandise Show, get a little more detail and talk about what's ahead because it sounds very exciting.
I appreciate that, Chris, and thanks again for hosting us on the show. We love your show, and you do such a great service for the golf industry, golfers, and sport in general. In fact, I really enjoyed listening to Brian Anderson, and because I'm a big basketball fan as well, and continued success in everything you do, and happy holidays to you and all your listeners.
Same to you, David. Thanks again. We'll catch up soon. In between now and then, all the best to you and your family.
Sounds great. Likewise. Bye-bye.
See you, David. That is TaylorMade CEO David Abeles, and boy, I tell you what, if you're not chomping at the bit to see what they reveal at the PGA Merchandise Show, you might want to check your pulse because, oh my goodness, going to change the way that woods are built. They won't be built the same way anymore. New metal wood technology sounds very exciting. The 790 irons also, we didn't get into a lot of detail about them, but go online to TaylorMade and check it out because those irons look absolutely fantastic. So very excited about all the things that TaylorMade is going to be doing, the TP5 and the TP5X. Like I say, we've tested a lot of golf balls here on Next on the Tee, and the TP5, the TP5X, and the Project A golf balls, are right there, 1, 2, 3 in the golf balls that we recommend here on the show. So go check those out. If you haven't played them yet, you're going to be pleasantly surprised about how great those golf balls are. And again, I can't wait to find out what TaylorMade has in store at the PGA Merchandise Show. We'll try to get David back on the show hopefully shortly thereafter. I've got my next guest, Ben Wright, hanging on the line. We'll get to Ben after this quick station ID.
Your favorite PGA and LPGA legends, pros and top instructors join us every week here on Next on the Tee. Be sure to check out our guest schedule and all our podcast episodes on our website at nextonthetee.net. Now, back to Chris and more of the show.
And now back with me on the French Lick Resort guest line is Mr. Ben Wright. It is always an honor for me to get to spend some time with Mr. Wright. He is a man that I have revered for many years, and for the wonderful way that he framed up golf for all of us on TV, making the sport infinitely more enjoyable for all of us to watch. Mr. Wright is also one of the great storytellers of all time, and you'll see further example of that if you pick up his book, Good Bounces and Bad Lies, available on Amazon.com, one of my very favorite books of all time. He was the best at broadcasting live golf tournaments that I have ever heard. No one before or since has done it even close to as well as he did it. I say this every time he joins me on the show because I don't want anyone to ever forget this. It was Ben Wright who used the phrase, "Yes, sir," to put an exclamation point on Jack Nicklaus's eagle putt on the 15th hole during the final round of the 86 Masters. He did that 2 holes in 20 minutes before Vern Lundquist used that same phrase in conjunction with Nicklaus's birdie putt on 17. And when I was contemplating who would I want to be my final guest of 2017, Mr. Ben Wright's name was right at the top of that list. And I'm so honored that he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Good evening, Mr. Wright. Thanks for coming back on the show.
It's absolutely a pleasure, Chris. I can't tell you how much it means to me that someone is interested in hearing from an old man who is 85 years of age, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to be with you, because my love affair with the game still is in high gear.
Well, and to that end, Mr. Wright, I want to start off our time by talking about the renovations that you've done very recently with your course up there in South Carolina, Cliffs Valley. You did a bunch of renovations with that golf course. Looks fantastic. I went online to look around, and boy, it seems like you did a great job.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing, Chris. I've done quite a few golf courses, some in Europe and some here, but this is my baby, as it were. And after 22 years of fantastic growth, which, of course, you don't know in my home country because there isn't that kind of growth, we were overwhelmed after 22 years by the trees and the shrubs. And my superintendent, Matt Stevens, one of the greatest guys I ever had the good fortune to meet, said, this thing is, the whole golf course is being just overwhelmed by trees and shrubs, and it was the truth. And he took out over 100 major trees, which I had planted in 1993 and 94. They were about 6 feet high. Now they were 40 to 50 feet high. So you understand what I'm getting at. And we went from bent grass on the greens to champion Bermuda because the heat in our area of South Carolina, I'm not getting into the the climate controversy or any of that, but it is getting a little bit hotter, it seems. And my superintendent said, you know, now I've got Champion Bermuda. The only good thing about it is that we don't have to water it. I don't have to fight bent grass for the 12 months of the year. It needs to be watered all the time. Champion Bermuda, almost none. So we've saved it, I would say 90% on the water bill. We also had 18 enormous fans, Chris, to keep the greens alive in the really hot months of July and August. And we don't have that electricity bill anymore. In fact, all those fans have been sold. So, it's you have to do this thing with a golf course. I suppose every 20 years or so.
And around the grand reopening of the course, after all the renovations were done, and you mentioned you're 85 years old, they did something very special for you to celebrate your 85th birthday, didn't they?
You know something, Chris? It was the most wonderful birthday of my entire life. At the age of 85, the club and the wonderful people who run it, and I won't mention them because there are too many, but they decided to have the grand reopening on my 85th birthday on September the 9th. And I arrived, and my whole family from Greensboro were there, a total surprise to me. And it was absolutely an incredible thing for me. But one of the members had actually got a stone plaque that he put alongside a new bunker I put in on the 8th hole, which had a revetted face or a sod face. In other words, a solid wall. And the stone read Ben's Bloody Bunker, which was really quite lovely. But then I should have known I was going to be ambushed. I thought I was having a quiet dinner for 16 people in a private dining room, and I should have smelled a rat when I realized these lovely people had sent a limo for myself and my family. And when I arrived, they ushered me into the dining area, and 180 people had showed up to honor me on my 85th birthday. It was truly extraordinary, and I shall never forget it, obviously. But it was probably the best birthday of my whole life. And they had an enormous birthday cake with green icing, and on the top was a model of the 8th hole at Cliffs Valley, which has the new revetted face bunker, and that was right in the middle of the cake. So everybody had a piece. It was truly one of the great moments of my life.
Well, Mr. Wright, I want to get your thoughts on, some of the things going on around the game now, and maybe a couple more memories as well. And one of the things the first thing I wanted to get your thoughts on, and one of the newest changes that we've heard, is about the elimination of viewers being able to call in and report rules violations. The USGA and the RNA can still use video replays if they have a question regarding if a rule was violated or not, but TV viewers aren't going to be able to call in and report those. Do you think is that the right thing to do? Is that a good change to get that out of the TV viewers' hands to be able to call penalties?
Chris, it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to the tours of the world. It's absolutely absurd that these idiot people should be able to phone in and influence the outcome of a tournament. And no one more grievously harmed than Lexi Thompson, who got a 4-stroke penalty because some strange person phoned in. A day before, the penalties were assessed. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. I think all the changes, Chris, that the governing bodies have proposed and are making are phenomenal and wonderful for all of us. But the thing that really bothers me is the fact that the ball flies so far. Something has got to be done. We've been saying it for years and years. We've got to throttle back the golf ball because these beautiful, wonderful golf courses are being made to look like munis, and it's absurd. We've got to do something about it. And, I listened to you, gentlemen from TaylorMade, and I understand the people in the industry, they wouldn't be serving their shareholders in any decent way if they weren't making the ball go further and further with club and ball. But we've got to think about the future of the game, and the future of the game is endangered at the moment.
And let's talk a little bit about equipment. And Mr. Wright, I know what a big fan of Ben Hogan you are, and we're proud to be partnering with the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company now. Talk about what a perfectionist Mr. Hogan was and what you might recall about when he was first coming out with his line of golf equipment.
Well, I can't tell you how much I admire the great Ben Hogan. Of course, I've told you probably on this show a dozen times, I went absent without leave from my Army unit to watch him win the 1953 British Open at Carnoustie, and it was something that changed my whole life because I not only shortened my name from Bentley to Ben in honor of Mr. Hogan, but I decided that when having watched him play every shot in practice and every shot in the championship, I had to spend the rest of my life around golf. And Mr. Hogan was so kind to me and so wonderful that I tear up even at the thought of how much I admired him. He hit the ball. He had control of the golf ball more than anybody I've ever seen in a very long time observing golf. And, while Nicklaus, God bless him, was a huge winner, and he had the ability to win, and he had the ability to conjure the shots that he needed to win, he never had the exact control of the golf ball that Ben Hogan had. In fact, of course, Nicklaus was not really a very good short-iron player or a very good chipper, so he had to work to try and avoid those two chinks in his armor, which he did pretty successfully.
And speaking of Mr. Nicklaus, Mr. Wright, I saw an article that you wrote that appeared in Links magazine, and in it you stated the greatest golf shot that you ever witnessed was the one iron that Jack Nicklaus hit in the 1972 U.S. Open on the 17th hole at Pebble Beach. Does that still stand? Is that the greatest shot you ever saw?
Yes, absolutely. We were standing there. I was standing with an English golf writing compatriot, Pat Ward Thomas, who was the golf correspondent of the Guardian newspaper in England. And he'd had no background in golf, but he'd fallen in love with the game when he was a prisoner of war in the Second World War. He was one of the first bomber pilots to be shot down in World War II. And he spent the rest of the war in Stalag Luft number 12, I think is the correct term. And the Red Cross enabled him to have golf books to read, and he became a golf writer because of what he'd read. And on that tee, on that occasion, when Jack Nicklaus pulled out an iron, the wind was blowing in his face at 40 miles an hour, I would say probably, I mean, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it was blowing heavens hard. And Pat said quite loudly, being an irascible kind of guy, said, he'll never get there with that. So Nicklaus gets over the ball, and he, as you well know, he hit it against the flagstick. It bounced back about 3, 4, 5 inches, almost a hole in one. And Nicklaus, I will never forget it. He never said a word to Pat, but I think he'd heard what Pat was saying. And all he did was he walked past us as he came off the tee, was to give Pat a wink. And he didn't need to say anything. It was definitely the greatest golf shot I've ever seen under pressure. You know, I mean, we're talking about under the greatest pressure that a man can face. And it was a very extraordinary experience that I shall never forget.
Mr. Wright, you know, curious to get your opinion about today's players. When we look at, you know, Jordan Spieth and, you know, and Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, Dustin Johnson, all of those guys, you know, looking back, you know, a generation or two to, you know, when Nicklaus and Player and Palmer and Billy Casper were fighting it out in the 60s, and we've got these wonderful young players fighting it out now in this generation. How do those compare? Does it make you harken back to look at, you know, hey, this was a young set of great players in the 60s that were coming up and were dominant and were great for the game, and now we're sort of seeing a revitalization of, you know, a bunch of other guys that are going to be fighting it out what seems to be for another, you know, decade or so?
I think, you know, it's invidious to compare eras, but I am absolutely thrilled by the young golfers of today, and most especially probably by the youngsters of America. You're talking about Fowler, Thomas, and all these kids who are just outstanding players. But of course, they've got the equipment that my old compatriots didn't have. You know, we played with Persimmon. Now they play with these damn metalwoods that really look unlike the golf clubs of the bygone era of which I was a part. But I love it, and I think nothing is more wonderful than the fact that the Americans are coming up with a breed of youngsters that are going to keep them at the top of the tree, and of course with specific reference to the Ryder Cup match. I cannot wait to see the next Ryder Cup match in Paris, because I think the Americans have a very, very good chance, but they have so many young, talented players. And, the game here went into the doldrums for a while with their inability to win the Ryder Cup for so long. But I think it's all cyclical, Chris, and I think it's America's turn to dominate the world.
Mr. Wright, one more before I let you go. And one of the great friendships that I've been blessed to start this year is with Mitchell Lawrence. He does a great golf podcast on his own called Talking Golf Getaways. And when he saw that you were going to be joining me tonight, he wanted me to pass along warm wishes to you. He said he's known you for about 30 years, so I wanted to be sure that I passed along Mitch's warm wishes to you.
Oh, how super. And I hope, if you have a chance, you'll return my absolutely best regards to him and his wife, Ewa, who was, of course, a great pool player of all time as the woman player. Mm-hmm. And I love them both dearly, and I'd love to wish them every good wish for the Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but also to you, Chris. You've made my year a much happier one in being able to talk to you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and every good wish for the new year.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Mr. Wright. It's always such an honor for me to get to spend some time with you. I don't know a better way to spend, a Tuesday night or a better way to end our 2017 season than with you. Like I said to you prior to the show and during your intro, when I was thinking about who my final guest of the year would be, there was no question I wanted it to be you, because you mean a great deal to me. You mean a great deal to me on this show, and you mean a great deal to me off of this show. I can't thank you enough for being as wonderful to me as you have been.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure, and you must remember that, Chris. It's my pleasure.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And Mr. Wright, I hope you'll come back again soon, and we'll talk about what's happening as we kick off 2018 and the things that are going on, because I have such a great time every time I have you on the show. Thank you for your time, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family.
And same to you. Thank you, Chris.
Take care, Mr. Wright.
Take care.
That is the legendary Mr. Ben Wright, and folks, it just doesn't get any better than that. And there's no better way to end a year than by spending some time with Ben Wright and listening to him share the stories about the things that he's doing in his great golf course, again, Cliffs Valley up in South Carolina, and some of the memories and the things that he weighed in on tonight. So my extreme thanks to Mr. Ben Wright. All right, folks, before we close up shop for not only this week, but, like I say, for 2017, let's go out by hearing a word from our friend Jim Estes and the great things that they continue to do at the Salute Military Golf Association.
The Salute Military Golf Association was created to provide rehabilitative golf experiences to the brave men and women who have been wounded while serving our country. Hi, I'm Jim Estes, PGA Golf Pro and co-founder of the Salute Military Golf Association. With my adaptive golf program, we've successfully helped thousands of soldiers in their recovery, both mentally and physically. The SMGA has been providing family-inclusive golf experiences across the country since 2007. To date, the SMGA has equipped more than 1,000 warriors with properly fitted golf clubs. clubs and has extended its clinic series to more than 8 chapter and affiliate locations across the U.S. If you are a wounded veteran interested in participating, or if you'd like to learn more about the Salute Military Golf Association and find a chapter closest to you, visit our website at smga.org. We've seen firsthand how impactful golf can be in aiding one's recovery. The Salute Military Golf Association, empowering wounded veterans one fairway at a time. Visit smga.org. That's smga.org.
Yeah, folks, they continue to do amazing things there at the Salute Military Golf Association. To find out more information and to see how you can get involved, go online to smga.org. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at the Bradley Putter Company. Folks, over the course of this year, you've heard me talking about the meteoric rise of the Bradley Putter Company, from concept a year ago on Black Friday to one of the sensations at last year's, or this year's, but at the 2017 PGA Merchandise Show. Well, folks, I've got mine, and we are proud to be partnering with Bradley to promote their unique line of putters made from burl wood, and these aren't ornamental putters, folks. People are raving about the look and feel that the Bradley putters have. They are custom made based on the shape and the color that you like. Mine is in black and yellow to support my Pittsburgh teams. Go online to bradleyputters.com to see how fantastic this new line of putters really is. All right, folks, time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks once again to Brian Anderson, David Abeles, and Mr. Ben Wright for joining me tonight, and I hope you all enjoyed the show as well. Please give me your thoughts. Check us out on our page on Facebook, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro. Share your feedback there. Plus, if you've got a question for one of our future guests, please let me know. I'll be glad to get it on the show for you. Please also go online to check out our website, nextonthetee.net. That is where you can find who some of our future guests are going to be. We got it right there for you. Plus, you can stream or download any of our archive episodes from our site there as well. Please also check out our sister show on the football side, Thursday Night Tailgate, with me and my co-host Bob Lazari and our announcer Joe LaJanusa. That show airs live every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stream it live on Blog Talk Radio. Like I say, that show plus this one available as a free podcast from our website or our great partners over at Podbean and on iHeartRadio as well. And Podbean, folks, if you haven't checked out Podbean, please go online to podbean.com or download their mobile app, because they've got so many great podcasts from all kinds of genres. And we are just very thankful that they've been very good to us and featured our show here, Next on the Tee, plus our Thursday Night Tailgate show right there prominently in their sports and recreation section. Can't thank them enough for their partnership. Over on Thursday Night Tailgate, we are joined every week by 5 NFL legends sharing their stories from their playing days, plus giving us their insights into today's game as well. We also highlight 2 players doing great things in their community in our Spotlight on the Positive segment. Again, you can find that show online at ThursdayNightTailgate.com and on Podbean as well. Folks, thanks again for choosing to listen to this show tonight. We really appreciate it. We know you got hundreds of shows and podcasts to choose from. We really appreciate the fact that you continue to make Next on the Tee one of them. We're going to be back with you on the other side of New Year's, so have a great Merry Christmas. Have a great holiday. Be safe out there. Until next year, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Be the hero at home when you order Outback Steakhouse with delivery or curbside takeaway, located at Clark Crossing in Athens. Delivery begins after 4 p.m. and curbside takeaway is available for lunch and dinner. Order online at outback.com/delivery and get all your favorites tonight.